Let's talk about something that sounds like pure science fiction but is absolutely real. What if you could actually slow down your perception of time? Well, it turns out you can. Today, we're diving into how to become the master of your own internal clock.
Think about it for a second. Have you ever had one of those heart-stopping moments? A near miss on the highway, or maybe that incredible moment in a sport where everything just clicks, where a single second seems to stretch out, giving you all the time in the world?
You've probably felt this before. It happens all the time. During an emergency, people will swear that everything unfolded in slow motion. Athletes talk about getting into the zone. Meditators find that what felt like a few minutes was actually an hour. This isn't just a weird quirk. It's a fundamental part of how our consciousness works. So what is actually happening in our brains during those moments? I promise you, it's not magic, and it's not some glitch in the matrix. It's a very real phenomenon. And it all starts with how our brain decides to keep time. All right, so the official term for this is internal time dilation. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is simple. You're not actually changing time itself. Instead, you're expanding your brain's ability to process information. Your perceptual bandwidth, how much data you can take in, just gets way wider. The best way to think about it is like the frame rate on a camera, right? Normally, your brain is kind of cruising along, maybe recording at 30 frames per second. But in these super heightened states, it's like you crank up the settings to 100, maybe even 200 frames per second. The world outside hasn't slowed down one bit. You've just started seeing it in ultra-high def. And listen, this is a really key point. We're not talking about Einstein's theory of relativity here. This isn't about needing a spaceship that goes near the speed of light to warp time-space. Nope. This is about a neurological state, a perceptual shift that you can actually influence right here, right now, just by changing what's happening in your own mind. So how does our brain even pull this off? It sounds incredible, right? Let's get into the neuroscience of it all, because our own biology is what makes this amazing feat possible. So here's a mind bender for you. What we experience is a smooth, continuous flow of reality. Well, it's actually an illusion. It's a construction. Your brain is building your entire experience out of tiny, separate snapshots, and it stitches them together using its own internal rhythms, the very things we measure as brainwaves.
Ancient traditions have had words for this for centuries. Things like Prana or Chi. They talked about this coherent life force energy. And what's so cool is that we can now measure this. We can see it as biological harmony. When your internal systems get in sync, your brainwaves, your heartbeat, your breath, this life force becomes a measurable, stable, coherent signal.
Okay, so here's the step-by-step. First, your body's rhythms start to align. That's the coherence. This leads to your brainwaves syncing up, often in what's called the alpha-theta state, which is that sweet spot for deep focus and flow. This synchronization literally creates a wider integration window, meaning your brain can take a bigger perceptual snapshot of any given moment. And the result? You experience more frames, and boom, time feels like it's slowing down.
I mean, the science is just fascinating. But what's the point, right? What are the real-world benefits? Well, this isn't just some mental party trick. This is a state that high performers, from athletes to artists, actively train to get a serious competitive edge. You hear this all the time from elite martial artists and pro athletes. They say they see openings before they even happen. Now, they aren't psychic. It's just that their internal frame rate is so incredibly high that they have extra microseconds of awareness. They are literally perceiving the world faster than their opponent, so they can anticipate instead of just reacting. And the advantages here are totally measurable. This isn't just a feeling. When your internal time slows down, your physical reaction time gets shorter. Your perception gets sharper, so you can track multiple things at once. Your own movements feel slower, more deliberate, which means your coordination gets better. And you make decisions from a place of calm, focused flow, not panic. Now, this is where we get to the really big, mind-bending ideas, where the neuroscience starts to brush up against the biggest questions we have about consciousness itself and how it relates to the very fabric of reality. Now, this is still on the cutting edge, a little speculative, but some advanced theories are suggesting that a highly coherent, organized state of mind might literally stretch out our experience of the present moment. It suggests our awareness could actually encompass a bigger slice of what's unfolding in space-time. Pretty wild, right? And what's amazing is that ancient philosophy was already talking about this same idea. This beautiful quote here says it all. By getting our internal rhythms, our inner time in harmony, we can actually come into resonance with the world around us. It's that feeling where everything just flows. So here's the big takeaway. When you slow your internal, subjective experience of time, you fundamentally change your relationship with the external world. Outer events can feel like they're aligning perfectly with what you're doing. This isn't about bending space-time with your mind. It's about mastering your perception of it. And that, right there, is the bridge between consciousness and physics.
So let's just end with this thought. This ability, it isn't reserved for some elite athlete or a monk on a mountaintop. It's a potential that lies dormant in all of our nervous systems. So the real question is, if you could slow down time whenever you wanted, what would you do with that extra moment? What could you achieve?